was during the frail time. She didn't like what that made her cry.
I mean, it might be also a generational thing. I mean, she had to learn not to affect her performance in front of a camera.
Yes, well, she said, where's my script?
Right.
She asked for a script, so it's a documentary, and she's like, what am I going to say? Be yourself.
I mean, she's used to interviews, but not. This was different because it
Sort
was
of
me and
right.
both of us.
But then you drew her out, I'm assuming.
She doesn't need drawing to go down.
She wasn't in her shell.
For my mother, she was in her shell, but for her, in her shell was like
That's
very
not.
different story.
I wanted to say at the top to people who are joining us from Facebook, this is J.D. Heyman, deputy editor of People. I'm here with Fisher Stevens and Carrie Fisher, who is in a new documentary, HBO original series called Bright Lights, starring Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds. People might not know this, but you and your mother are neighbors, so you're very close to your mother. I mean, you're close in a way that most people would find, possibly a little confining. I mean, she's in your life in a way that most people, outside of, a little village in Italy probably aren't living their family life.
Well, that was our motto.
Right.
My mother also moved my grandmother across the street from her, but that wasn't as amicable a situation. Although my mother was always gracious with my grandmother, it was kind of fun, that stuff.
Right.
But
See her in the film.
yeah,
She was tough.
rugged, but we have a hill between us, so that is a little bit daunting, because it's up, so if I go down, it takes longer to go up. So, but we see each other quite a bit. I wasn't aware that it would be that,
Tight. Do you call her on the phone every day and talk?
I resisted initially, but no, at a certain point you just give me everything.
Do you imagine with Billy, obviously
Never.
not going to happen.
She is going to stop this one in its tracks.
She will not move next door.
No.
When you first saw
She's
Billy,
still, when we started filming her, she had a room still there.
No. She has a wing.
She has a wing.
you've kept her room as it was as she was when she was little.
Oh, no. She very much has
Still goes.
her area. I mean, it sounds like my house is massive. It's not, but there's a living room, and then there's my area, and there's Billy's area.
And Carrie's area.
Yeah, and I will actually. Well, he moves freely between. My daughter
He has a visa to go between the area.
Absolutely, and he stops at the little, I don't even know what they're called.
Checkpoint, passport.
Checkpoint. But she has a dog just like this named Tina, who's fawn colored. There's a little girl that Gary's frightened of.
Right, so Gary is frightened of Tita.
Yes,
So she's the alpha in the situation.
that's right.
Well,
She's
I guess-
terrifying. If you have a ball, it's like.
I think part of the reason also we loved the idea was that Carrie and Debbie live on this compound, and it really is like separated by a hill. But it is an amazing piece of land. It's one of the most unique properties you'll ever see in your life, and I feel like Lexi and I tried to make that a character in the film, that where they live and the way that they communicate and go down the hill. Now, really more Carrie goes down the hill. Debbie doesn't go.
Come on. You don't shout down the hill.
The house belonged to Robert Armstrong, who was in King Kong, another one of the, he built it. Then Betty Davis. Then Edith Head lived there for the longest time. And so she is the biggest impact. And then us. And so it's been a very sort of Hollywood.
Four owners, all in business.
When Carrie Fisher, this must be interesting, when she writes about her life, you get the sense when you're talking about your life that Hollywood is like a little town, and you've grown up in that town, and whatever difficulty you've ever had in it, it's your home, and you've made it a pretty cozy, livable place. Is that strange to think
Probably
of?
in terms of how other people do. But I grew up there, and the house was built in 1919, so it has a secret room I ceaselessly decorate my home, so it's character, as well as the whole compound. And they're very distinctly different. My mother's home and mine. I mean, they're not warring in any way, but they were built by Robert Armstrong. I think
But
they
it
built.
looks so different. It's
Oh,
like
totally. Except for the outside, but it's the adjunct. Virginia Hill lived in my mother's home.
Well, your mother and you obviously have a very different aesthetic. And your mother, she may be one of the original Hollywood hoarder collectors. She's collected everything. And she's lost collections and regained collections. What's the difference in terms of your style and her
I
stuff?
wish I could show you. Mine is very hallucinogenic. Not that but it's lights. I like lights and very bright colors. And my mother likes more muted pastels, and she's painting, and it's much more.
Yeah, it's very different. I mean, you really get a sense of Carrie's taste in this film, and Carrie's obsessions with little things, beauty. And she actually created a whole room while we were filming. It was a new room wing added, and it was like, it looks like it's been there now for 50 years, or part of the house. So it's so interesting how that is.
My mother heard that I was thinking of moving to England. She said, I'm going to build you a room. So it started out that way.
And now you have a whole new...
Well, and I mean, I've never had my own master bedroom, so I have
Pretty
a
amazing.
master mistress.
You'll see it.
We have a question too from some of the fans. Were there any moments of, I'm assuming in the documentary, we're going to be able to see a lot of the banter between Carrie and her mom. What was that like?
I mean, it's gold. That was really fun. That's my favorite, some of my favorite moments. Just Carrie goes to visit Debbie, and they just, start singing spontaneously.
What do you sing when you sing together?
They know hundreds of songs.
I mean, I grew up doing nightclub work, like most teenagers.
Yes, typical.
Yeah.
So that's, I learned that my mother did imitations. I started doing, Judy Garland imitations. And my mother did Barbra Streisand, I did that. So, and I stopped. But she was very much a role model in the best and weirdest sense.
Did you ever, when you've written about how she took you on the road, and you really were a showbiz kid, and you did she integrated you in the nightclub act, and the next thing you know, you were very young when you did Shampoo, and very young when you did Princess Leia. You must have thought at some point, enough. I'm going to go write in a garret, and I'm not coming out ever.
Yeah, well, I thought that originally that I was going to write, but I got in too big too fast. I just did it kind of as a quirky kind of thing to do. I mean, Star Wars didn't look like Gone with the Wind.
Right.
It looked amazing, and I knew I would like it, but I didn't know so many people would.
Sorry, another question. Did The Force Awakens come up at all in the film?
Well, we went to visit Carrie while she was shooting in London. We weren't allowed near the set, obviously, but she's filming it while we're filming.
And you're not able to reveal anything then during so Debbie doesn't learn anything about the Force Awakens?
If she does, she would never tell.
She would never tell you. You have to rag it out of her. No, you don't learn about it, and Carrie had to keep very quiet about it while we were filming. But it was cool to be there, and watch Carrie get ready for working out, getting ready.
I should say that Facebook people will be chiming in periodically, so don't be startled if we shout out questions. Another question, though, about The Force Awakens, and one of the things that you've said is that because you did Princess Leia at such a young age, that, you were young and, hot and all of the rest of it, that you were sort of frozen in amber, and that is a very hard thing to deal with, to have that idealized sense of yourself. But now, of course, you get to play this character again. Is it liberating to come back to the character, and now people can see that she's...
Everything.
Right.
It's liberating, and it's, for a lot of people, it's infuriating, that actually aged. And I sort of said at one point that I didn't realize that I'd written a contract that said I would stay looking the exact same way at 23. You know, and so I would like to look the same for everyone, including myself. But I hate that I would like it.
Right.
I hate that I'm that vain, like we all are. We all want to look. Why don't we want to be fantastic? Yeah, be who we are, and that's enough. But it's not. We always listen to people saying, "You look great," instead of "How are you?" So I don't like that part of the business. But you know, I like being in Star Wars, and it's hard for me to look at myself at any age. So they did the best they could with what they did.
Well, you look fantastic in the movie, so I mean that must be nice to see, and then to see your daughter in it as well, with the same absurd hairstyle that you made famous. Did you have a hand in that?
No, not at all.
When she walked out looking like that, did you?
Well, there was a good conversation, but I tried to stay away from it, and I'm sure it was a mixed bag for her.
Well, the buns are a hard it's an important mantle.
Well, she looks fantastic,
Yeah.
and she doesn't have to wear the ones that are just golfing.
Navajo-like. Yeah.
There's a question coming in from Facebook from Deborah Jarnigan Strickland. She wants to know, how does it feel, Carrie, to be an integral part of American modern culture? You have achieved far more than movie star status. How does that feel?
Warm, cozy. No, it feels. It's a very unusual thing to be part of something that's gone over time this far. Not just, I talked to Meryl Streep because I know her. I'm sorry. And she said the thing that's more difficult for you is I watched myself age, like 3 films a year. And, you've watched this, then you went down to this, and you were on stage, and now you're back here. And it's hard to do that.
The same role.
The same role, but more subdued. I want a gun. What, Gary?
Gary wants to chime in about
He
that.
wants to be in the movie. When they say he's too
Oh.
famous. All right, come here. Gary has 16,000 Instagram fans. Gary.
Wow. I
Gary-
can see why. Gary is cool. Gary's been having more fun than any of us here today.
Gary
Well,
walked
yeah.
off in a huff. He stormed off. I mean, I don't know.
Job of the house.
What a diva. What a diva.
We have another question. Is there something new and different that the two of you learned about each other while doing this?
He's a bastard.
I learned a lot more about Carrie, obviously, because that was my job. So I learned a lot of new things every day. Actually, every time you're with Carrie, even today, I learned new things about Carrie and her upbringing. Like the whole thing that Todd played guitar in the 1990s. I didn't know that.
I know.
I mean, there was always, like, we could have kept making this film forever.
I'm a plexiglass box, by the way. I think, I'm not sure.
No, I
But
learned.
he also is he's very close friends with two of my best and oldest and dearest friends. So there's something tribal about him that's very familiar.
Yeah, we do have. I think one of the things that really worked about the film is that we feel. I don't know. I feel like we're sort of connected in a way that made the film much easier.
You could fall into kind of step.
Yeah, we got into a flow and a rhythm while working too.
So we have time for one more question.
Okay.
Your relationship with your mother is the center of this movie, and it's been the center of, in many ways, a lot of your fiction and your theater work. And do you feel like there are more chapters to write in this, or act in this, or relive?
Unfortunately, probably. I just hope it's nothing dramatic. But probably. We're an eminently, weirdly filmable and flammable family.
Well, please don't catch on fire.
Okay.
Everybody is looking forward to Bright Lights with Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds. Thank you, Fisher Stevens, Carrie Fisher, and Gary Fisher for joining us.
He wants back out into the grass, into the sand, grass.
Gary was ready. Gary was doing this. He was like,